Hello, good morning and welcome to the newspaper review segment here on TVC Breakfast today. My name is Nelson Etta, and of course I have with me the very beautiful Olamide.
Right, they've given us a set to actually express ourselves, so that's very good. But, you know, you were not available yesterday. What happened?
Oh, well, don't get me started right there. I went to London to see the Queen, like we always say.
I mean, Ibrahim was able to hold the fort, but, you know, it's not the same.
What are you trying to say now?
Let's not do that. We are live. Right.
Indeed, but Olamide, there's something to smile about this morning for our pensioners. The federal government has approved 758 billion. That is on the Nation newspaper. For all pensioners. This is to settle the backlog of arrears that has been pending. Some good news, Olamide, for our fathers and mothers to smile about. What do you think?
Right, I think it's, you know, better late than never. We have, you know, been clamoring for a great system that will ensure that pensioners, those who have worked for the nation, are properly rewarded. And it's so sad to see when they, you know, have to write letters, go on long queues and all of that to ensure that they get what they've actually, you know, worked for. And I was saying something just right before we went on that break, saying that if everyone was to rely on the pension system, I mean, so many persons will not be able to afford treatment and all of that they need at that age. So it's great that the federal government is stepping up on this issue. But however, we also need a call to action to ensure that this money gets to those who, you know, who deserve them. And some of, you know, the backlogs should be cleared.
It's one thing for it to be approved, but it's the other part that money gets to them when they get on that line. Another story right here on the Nation newspaper. Tolling of highways begin. This is the Minister of Works, Umai. Generated revenue for maintenance. Payment kicks off on Abuja-Makurdi Road. We saw the figures. I think it's about 1,600 naira for each
that's
motorist to pay.
reported on another newspaper. When we get there, we will look at that exact amount, because, I mean, so many persons are reacting as to you know,
is that not too much?
Well, the pricing is not really the issue. It's about the fact that, you know, some other, you know, fees are also being paid along the highways that, you know, maybe are not legal in that sense.
Thank God for the NLC who called off the strike yesterday. But that'll be it for the Nation newspaper.
Well, let's quickly go to Nigeria News Direct. And Nigeria News Direct is also happy about the Federal Executive Council approving 758 billion naira bond to settle the pension backlog. It is, you know, good news for Nigeria. But Nelson, there is another story here, which it says immigration to launch contactless passport solution in Europe by February 7. Recall that we were talking about, you know, the Interior Ministry, was it last week or so?
Exactly.
And how much growth we have seen since
in that sector,
this minister came in. And so having a contactless passport as we see in other climes, it's great news.
So I could be crossing my legs on my, you know, my home, watching my television when the door rings and they say, hey, come get your passport. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I think that's the idea behind this whole thing. And it's good. I think we're extending all that to Nigeria, apart from, you know, the pickup. But, you know, the backlogs, ensuring that we don't have to go through that rigorous process. This also cuts down the issue of bribery and all of that in the immigration service.
It's a good way to go. Let's quickly get to the Nigerian Tribune, which is our next paper to consider this morning.
Right.
On the top right of the paper right here, 29 states removed speakers in 26 years. I guess this is trying to finger what just happened in Lagos State, but I won't say much about that. You know, again, Nigeria to experience severe dry spell over 27 to 40 days in some areas. This is bringing Delta, Bayelsa, Oyo, Ogun, Osun, Lagos, 7 other states to witness early rain. This is quoting NIMET. Well, I think everybody should check and put their house in order. The rains are coming. That would be it for the Nigerian Tribune.
And go to the Platform Times. And this may be an allegation because no one is quoted here. It says Senate plans removal, arrest of IGP, FRS, NNPC, CBN, the Nigeria Correctional Service, I would assume, and other heads. Well, I was expecting that someone would have been quoted there, but let's see how that plays out. But there is another concerning story here. Unilorin students commit suicide over financial challenge. That's you know, a very.
That's really sad.
That's a very
That's really
sad.
really sad. Again, people are, you know, say some of the things that is going on. You know, there's a report I saw really that highlighted some of the conditions some persons have to live in, and sometimes you don't know what people are going through on an individual level. That's really sad, but nothing by any means should make anyone think of taking his or her life. You cannot do that. Not dismissing the circumstances that anyone has to live by, but where there is life, Olamide, there is hope. And so please, there is hope at the end of the tunnel. But that's a sad one right there. And,
you know, in addition to what you said about the fact that you don't really know what people are going through, it's, you know, great for us as individuals, as Nigerians, to also, you know, try and hold on to each other's hands. Whatever situation people
check
are
on
going
your
through.
neighbor.
I mean, just
be
a
there
smile
for somebody,
could make
right?
a person, you know, change his mind about whatever he or she plans to do. We acknowledge, you know, the situation. It's not really great around the world right now, but I think suicide should not be an option for anyone. I mean, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Indeed.
For us.
And we are here to make sure that light gets to you one way or the other as we run quickly to the New Telegraph, which is our next paper to consider this morning. INEC expresses worry over delegates buying during party primaries. This is a very big issue across party lines in this country. Well, I hope the persons involved are listening so that we can always have the best candidate emerge winners of party primaries. Again, on the New Telegraph, Tinubu declines assent to Federal University Numan bill over grammatical flaws and others. This is a little bit funny to me. Over grammatical flaws. All right. Which therefore then puts a finger on, you know, preparation. Remember some time ago, Lamide, when different agencies were approaching the National Assembly to present their budgets, and the National Assembly said to them, we cannot look at this. You need to go back, tidy up your presentation and come back to us. I guess this is one of those things. And so sometimes we need to be sure of what we present before we present it so that we don't get into such issues.
Such issues. Actually, I think that is, you know, very important. But let's quickly run to the next paper, and that will be the Hope newspaper. Well, on the Hope newspaper, which is reporting something, you know, very concerning, 900,000 people down with cancer in Africa. The World Health Organization records 580,000 deaths. For year 2022 alone, 40 have been diagnosed with disease 40 are being diagnosed rather with the disease every minute worldwide. Nelson, this is, you know, very concerning. Looking at, you know, the state of our health sector, quite, you know, positive at this time. But 900,000 people, you know, down with cancer, these are people that are even being diagnosed.
Exactly.
We have undiagnosed cases. And so that brings the issue of, you know, how well the insurance system is working, how well, you know, the health system is working. Recall that we addressed some stories last week, the health sector, brain drain and all of that. Yeah, but also the government across board, federal and state, you know, are trying to do as much as they can to erect cancer centers, and the NHIA is also working, because we had them on the program some time ago to speak about that program. It's working, but it will not be all at one brush, you know, one step at a time. But I think the federal government is doing as much as they can to handle that. But let's quickly move to this Nigeria, which is our next paper this morning. Government expands palliative program to support students, FCT communities. That is at the top right of this Nigeria right there. And another story here again, audit report, Senate threatens to arrest, remove FIRS, NNPC, CBN, customs bosses, IGP, and others. This is some real serious matter here. These are the men who bring in the big bucks. So if the Senate are saying we are threatening them,
well, it's something to be considered. But I think that'll be it for this Nigeria.
And let's quickly go very quickly to the first news. The federal government says a patient now coming from the United Kingdom, United States for treatment in Nigeria. I recall that, getting to see specialists and all of that is quite a big issue outside of the country. So sometimes some persons still have to make their way back. And it's up to us to ensure that our health system is, at its best. But there is another interesting story here, which says that TikTok deletes over 2 million Nigerian videos for safety violations. Nelson, have you been on TikTok? What people post, I think they do not have limit anymore. And it's great that TikTok is now taking that down for their own safety.
Absolutely not, Olamide. I'm not on TikTok.
Oh, okay. I am.
Personally, I'm not. However, you are, right? I don't have anything against TikTok. I think just preference, personal preference, whether to or not be there. But generally, social media as a whole is just, for me, it's a means of expression and communication. It's not a means. Exactly. It's not a means of libel or showing nonsense, if, for the want of a better word, on those platforms. And so there has to be some level of decorum and restraint on me as a person if I want to go on there to do anything. You can't just do anything because it's your free space to do it. No, you don't do that. So, hey,
well,
I don't agree.
As I would say, the app helps them to, express themselves, dance and all of that. But yes, there should be a limit to all this.
You can dance in your house. Okay, let's get on to the Guardian newspaper this morning. Something very simple here. FG, NARD, CMDs, others bicker over state of health sector. We just said that a few minutes ago. Good rating. All right. And just one more on right here. First Lady donates 100 million to Niger tanker explosion victims, visits IBB and Abdul Salami. That is talking about Senator Oluremi Tinubu. Well done, ma'am. That'll be it for The Guardian.
And we're going now to Daily Independent, and we see the governor of Kogi State saying that Tinubu has taken us back to what we know how to do best. He's talking about, agriculture. The state has spent over 9 billion naira in agriculture. That's according to the Commissioner for Information, Kingsley Fanwood there. And well, another story, in reaction to what you also mentioned earlier about this toll fee that is to be implemented on the highways. It says that motorists to pay maximum of 1,600 as federal government commences toll collection on Abuja Makurdi Road. Orders to be commissioned soon in 6 geopolitical zones. I wonder how many persons will react to this.
Well, maybe the leadership newspaper will help us react to it. On the leadership newspaper this morning, emergency declaration on food. Poor implementation Mars, 19-month exercise. This is, as the government says, is unserious, says expert. Want state governments to buy in, and Professor Amalu says impact not felt. Well, that's a lot about that. But that'll be it for the leadership newspaper.
Now let's quickly run to Abuja Inquirer. And the big story here says, hike berserker, Nigerians hit by fresh electricity telecoms tariffs. Well, we're dying of skin cancer, albinism boss warns. And another interesting one here says, federal government set to begin production of HIV test kit, antiretroviral drugs in Nigeria. But that's it on the Inquirer.
That should be a very good one right there. And the Daily Times is the next paper. At the top nameplate of the paper right here, Vice President Shettima pushes for coordinated efforts to boost Nigeria's economy. Of course, as the man who is in charge of that, he knows exactly what needs to be done. And if all of us can come together, we'd get it working. And we also see Ganduje right there, money politics will destroy the APC. He's speaking warningly to members of the APC. I'm sure they know exactly what that means. But that'll be it for the Daily Times.
Let's go to Nature newspaper, and this is focusing on Nigeria's clean energy supply. NGML launched a mini LNG project to boost clean energy. That's a great one. And WHO's impending funding shortfall threatens global health programs that are reacting to the U.S. removal of some of these aids from major nations. But that's it on the Nature News. And
finally, on the Sporting Live.
Okay. You have it today.
For the first time in a long time, I'm taking Sporting Live. All right, I love this. Chukwueze's Fulham move fails. This is as Kazimpasa part ways with Omeruo. Olamide, I'm not going to part ways with you on this table.
Can you imagine?
Let's move it out. We are the sports right here at the moment. So, but this is something to be, to look at here for our sports brothers. Chelsea signs Amogo on 8-year contract. Good news for him right there. This is as Madagascar admits unfair treatment of Nkunku. But Olamide, that story on the gentleman who took his life is saddening for me. I wish we could speak with Veronica and Ibrahim, to know exactly what they think about this and how that we can curb this from happening at any other time. But I think that would be it for us this morning on the newspaper review segment. We'll take a short break, and when we return, it will be time for Veronica and Ibrahim to continue with the program.